My name is Allison Eady. I am a PhD student at Wilfrid Laurier University in Community Psychology, and I'm also one of the program coordinators for Waterloo Region School Food Gardens. And we're a project of Seeds of Diversity. We're not a separate organization, but we run kind of a separate line of projects and activities through Seeds of Diversity. So when I was putting this presentation together, obviously the first thing I wanted to tell you about was, what does Waterloo Region School Food Gardens do? So from 2016, when the organization started, to 2019, our main role was supporting gardens in schools. So that meant providing financial support through our garden grants program, providing educational resources, such as workshops, developing curriculum tools with Cambridge Self-Help Food Bank, which I believe Siobhan told you about, and building more resources to promote garden-based learning in schools. And then in 2020, we made a pretty big pivot. And we realized at our core, what we really wanted to do, and we had been working towards, is providing flexible youth-led opportunities for especially older youth aged 13 to 18, to engage in learning about their food systems and to get involved in working towards a sustainable food system. And we started practicing and exploring how to do that both online and in person, because the world looks pretty different right now. So I think having gardens in schools is, first of all, an essential part of education. And second of all, is an opportunity for some pretty cool hands-on experiential learning. And this kind of learning is not only, a fun extra activity for everybody, but it's also a really supportive environment for students who don't learn well in traditional classrooms. There's a lot of general benefits to gardening in schools, so we'll talk a bit about the specific research behind this later on, but in general, it can help, having a garden in a school can help enhance students' well-being, it can improve their academic performance. Having access to green space in a school is an element of health promotion. And another really important part of food systems education is that right now, the average age of a Canadian farmer is 55. So there's a lot of farmers nearing retirement age, and there's not a lot of young people coming up in that system, and it's really hard to get in that system. So when we talked to students and staff in Waterloo Region School Gardens, we found that students and staff who participated in garden programs had overwhelmingly positive experiences. They loved these programs. And a lot of the schools that didn't have gardens participated in our project because they were really interested in starting one. But the teachers and students who were either currently running gardens or were trying to get one going found that there were a lot of challenges and barriers to getting their gardens started, to maintaining them once they had them. And so the big kind of things that weren't in place there were time. Teachers and students and all school staff are pretty overloaded. Schools are running on a pretty tight budget. Funding in general for buying the initial materials, for doing maintenance stuff, staff time, general staff support. Not that people didn't care about it, but that they were just overloaded and couldn't dedicate time to it. And also some challenges in school infrastructure. Things like the water mains in schools are not really easily designed in many places to be accessed by an outdoor hose to, someone who doesn't have a key to everything. And that can be a pretty big barrier to keeping your garden watered. And what we decided to do is take a look at that gap in resources for older youth. So the first thing we did with all of our free time all of a sudden was to build an online youth portal. So that started out as a way to share some of the information we already had online in a different, creative, or engaging way aimed specifically at youth. We realized our website looked like it was targeted for adults. It looked like it was targeted for funders and parents and teachers. So if we wanted to make it friendly and usable for youth, we had to think about how to engage them. And the other thing we took a look at was our social media. So if this is the main way that nonprofits and everybody else is engaging right now, who are we engaging and who aren't we engaging? And if we're interested in engaging older youth and providing them opportunities to connect, how do we do that? And we decided to start up a volunteer program. As soon as we started putting out these opportunities, we were really quickly overwhelmed with volunteers. We identified the gap and it was definitely there. So then all of a sudden we had all these people wanting to help, and we hadn't really identified that many concrete roles yet. We were really new to this. So we started thinking a bit more deeply about what we could do to create meaningful volunteer and engagement opportunities for them. So this is, again, when we check back in with our goals. We started out wanting to give youth a chance to garden and incorporate food systems learning in schools. And given that they weren't physically at schools and that learning in schools was pretty challenging at the time, we kind of pivoted and also expanded our goals. So what we were really looking to do was connect youth with their food systems, regardless of where they're learning. And we really didn't know what we were doing. We're not teenagers. So we figured out that the best way to find out was to ask some youth. So one of the kind of core principles of community engagement is that it's pretty hard to engage with community if you don't talk to them. So we knew we needed to get youth involved and get their advice on our programs. And now all of our programs to date pretty much are built around the idea that the youth lead and we support. So in 2021, what we ended up doing was having a really cool hybrid of engagement in our programs. We spent 2020 and early 2021 kind of building our online presence, slowly expanding our social media, working with the youth who were volunteering with us to figure out what was compelling, what was engaging, what did they want to see there, and then gradually letting them take more control over these things. And as the world opened up, we started to try to build some safe outdoor opportunities for youth to get involved. And the main feedback that we got from our youth volunteers was that the most effective programs that they've participated in and the most effective of our programs were the ones where they really got to see the outcomes of their work. So where they got to see all of the blog posts going up, when they got to see their posts highlighted on our social media, when they saw the gardens they were planting, when they saw the full market day. So really seeing when things were real and happening in the real world and the impact they were having was really valuable to them. So now that we've kind of tried out this pilot program, we're in the process of doing a more detailed evaluation. So all of our volunteers are asked to complete entry and exit surveys. And that includes kind of demographic factors. It includes what specific programs they're participating in, and also a measure of environmental activism and engagement that we're interested to see whether there's any change in their environmental beliefs and behaviors pre and post volunteering with us. And we're also conducting exit interviews with all of our volunteers to kind of get in their own words what their experiences were like, what we might want to work on, what we should keep doing. We're using these initial results to apply for more funding to ideally keep our programs going and expand if we can. And one of the big next things we'd like to do is build a formal youth advisory board to really have even more formalized youth guidance in our program and make it built into the structure as an organization that the youth lead.